Well, joining me now from Boston is Steven Pinker, the author of The Better Angels of Our Nature, Why Violence Has Declined. Daniel Knowles, who writes on social affairs and the changing face of Britain for The Economist. And Pauline Pearce, who's also known as the Hackney Heroine, after the riots in London in 2011, when a video of her berating rioters in her native Hackney went viral. Pauline, first of all, these statistics appear to show that violent crime is definitely on the decrease. Does it look like that in the world where you live?
Not in the world where I live, I'm afraid. I have to sadly say that it's not happening in and around most of the areas that I connect with. Just recently, we've had a young boy shooting a young girl in Hackney. We've had a gentleman killing his partner and his child. Again, today on the news, there's a mother who's killed her 3 children. All exceptional circumstances, but it's still a violent crime.
Of course, the death of the 3 children today is still an allegation that it was the mother that was involved in that crime. But Daniel, do you think that what we're seeing here is a result of a changing society, albeit not one that Pauline recognises locally? Or is there something fundamentally changing in our society?
I think there is a changing society, but it's to do with an awful lot of interventions at once. I mean, your report raised a few of them. You know, parenting, contrary to politicians, has actually got a lot better. But there's myriad things like that. I mean, you know, the way we approach crime, the way we tackle crime, prevent crime has got a lot better. If you look at things that were common 20, 30 years ago, things like bank robbery, that's just a lot harder.
Because of CCTV?
Yeah, CCTV, but I mean, there's a lot of things like car immobilizers.
But do you not think they still find other ways to get in there?
I don't think they do. I think I dug up a statistic today, and 107,000 kids entered the criminal justice system in 2008, first offences. This year, or last year, in 2013, it was 27,000. Fourfold drop.
Steven Pinker, do you think it's because there is, amongst young people, less of a propensity to commit crime? I mean, do you think there is a fundamental societal change?
There is a change. It's a long-running historical change. Going back to the Middle Ages, the rate of violent crime in Western countries has just plummeted. Then there was a little uptick in the 1960s, and what we're seeing now is a reversal of the uptick. But in general, there's been less tolerance for violence as a way of establishing one's manhood, one's honor, more of an emphasis on dignity, on controlling your emotions, on being more of a gentleman.
But why is that happening, Steven? Yes, why is that happening, Steven Pinker?
Why is that happening?
Yeah.
It probably is triggered by a number of ways of trying to control violence, most prominently government and policing. And that has been the trend that drove most of the rate of violent crime down over the centuries. And there was a renewal of energy after the crime burst of the 1960s, when after a couple of decades, I think communities all over the West got sick of the rate of crime and started to do various things about it. And the things
it's not
they did
inherently that people are
different.
getting better. It's not inherently that human nature is changing for the better.
I don't think human nature is changing, but I think human nature has many components. There's a part of us that reacts angrily to insults and frustrations, as in the computer repair technique called percussive maintenance. Something goes wrong and you want to whack something. On the other hand, there's another part of human nature that can anticipate the future and can inhibit these impulses to lash out. And I think when you change social institutions, you can give self-control and long-term planning the upper hand. So you're basically tilting one aspect of human nature against another.
This is precisely it. Stephen has explained very well in his book, you know, over 1,000 years how crime has reduced. The difficulty now is almost explaining why it increased in those decades from the 60s, 70s and 80s, because what we've seen the last 30 years are just across the board in Western countries, little improvements, little ways that we've found of making things work better, things that we've improved, institutions.
But can you tell me where you've done this? Yeah. Where did you get these statistics from? Where did you do your research to find these? I walk out on the streets every day. Every day I'm out there with the people, you know, on grassroots level, ghetto level, whatever way you want to class it. But I'm out there and I'm seeing crime every day.
Pauline, but I'm wondering if part of the thing is that actually it doesn't contribute to the statistics because a lot of the crime that you're seeing goes unreported.
Well, there you go.
Well,
so how can they get a right balance? I don't understand.
We actually have very good crime statistics. It's based on a survey. Essentially, we ring up 60,000 people and say, what crimes have you been a victim of? And, so actually the crime statistics are pretty good. And we have also hospital admissions.
But why is it only now that we're actually, in the last decade, coming to understand or see why this is changing?
I think it's. I think it's only recently become so apparent in Britain because certain types of crimes were still rising into the mid-noughties. Things like knife crime. So even though crime has been falling since 1995, it's been quite easy to point to something which has been getting worse.
So
but have
you done research into the gun crime? And
absolutely, I have done research into the gun crime.
Can I finish asking my question?
Fallen. The number of shootings has fallen by about 80%.
But it's interesting because it
but
doesn't.
That's not the question I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask where are the guns coming from? How are they getting on the streets in the first place?
Well, they're not. They're in less and less numbers.
But Pauline, one area where I think that you will be in accord is over Steven Pinker, the idea that why are we not seeing a commensurate reduction in domestic violence then?
Oh, we do. Estimates of domestic violence are also down, and maybe for some of the same reasons. Namely, we are becoming increasingly intolerant of violence. It's now considered a mark of absolute shame to beat up or threaten your intimate partner, whereas that was a matter of comedy, of jokes for much of the 20th century. Also, there are better social service agencies, places that women who are terrorized by their spouses or boyfriends can escape or complain, and less tolerance on the part of courts and police for domestic violence, as there is less tolerance for other kinds of violent crime.
But can you see this as a kind of, a progression, or is there something that might kick it all off again, like the riots that we had here in 2011? Is this a definite trajectory, or could we see it reversed?
Oh, we could see it reverse. But I think that now that, unlike the 1960s and 1970s, where there was a deep pessimism that we could ever bring safety back to cities.
How do you propose to reverse it?
No, but could it be reversed? What we're saying, could it become worse again? You were saying
right, because I was, sorry, my misunderstanding. But yes, all right, it could become right again. But there's got to be a lot more input into this than just us sitting here on a TV having a debate. We need to get out there. The people need to get out there and work on this.
Thank you all very much indeed.